Before the first dawn, before the river remembered its name, there was silence. Not the silence of sleep, but the silence that hums before creation, a silence that waits. Beneath an endless sea of black water, where no light had ever fallen, a single thought stirred, a thought so ancient it did not yet know itself. And from that thought came warmth, and from that warmth, light. The light rose slowly, stretching across the void like a breath, and with it came Ra. He did not awaken, he became. Ra floated above the waters, his eyes glowing with the first memory of the world. He looked around the vast expanse, and there was nothing. No sound, no stars, no time. He spoke, not with a mouth, but with the vibration of truth. Let there be the place where I stand. And the waters parted. From the surface rose a single mound of earth, soft, golden, shining with the memory of warmth. It was the Ben, the first hill, the resting place of creation. Ra stepped upon it, and his feet gave it shape. His light touched it, and sand became gold. He smiled gently, for even gods can smile when they see beauty born. He raised his hands, and the sky unfurled above him like the canopy of a sleeping tent. His breath became the wind. His tears became the Nile. His laughter scattered stars across the night like seeds of light. And from that laughter came harmony, the rhythm of the world. Ra looked upon the world and whispered, "You shall move as I move, and rest when I rest." And so the sun began its journey. It rose from the horizon, crossed the heavens, and fell gently into the sea of night, only to rise again in golden rebirth. That was the first sunrise, the first rhythm of sleep and waking, the first heart beating within the endless desert of silence. But even as creation unfolded, Ra felt the whisper of solitude. No one else walked beside him. The stars twinkled, but they did not speak. The wind sang, but it did not understand. He longed for company, not to rule over, but to share the wonder of being. So he looked within himself and said, "From me shall come those who will dance, sing, and dream." And from the light of his left eye came Shu, the god of air, soft, gentle, eternal motion. From the light of his right eye came Tefnut, goddess of moisture, the breath of life. The two bowed in the glowing sands before him. Ra's voice, warm and slow like the river, said, "Go forth and bring balance to the world." Shu lifted the sky upon his shoulders, holding it high so that life might breathe. Tefnut spread mist upon the ground, and the first clouds were born. Now creation had shape. Ra looked upon it and rested, for even gods must pause to listen to the silence they create. The world shimmered, sand, air, water, and light. It was beautiful, peaceful, and Ra felt calm for the first time. He watched the sun dip into the horizon, his own reflection fading from gold to amber to crimson. He whispered, "So it is good to rest, even for the eternal." And thus night was born. Ra's light faded, but his presence did not. He drifted into a dreamlike state, neither awake nor asleep. The stars moved in slow patterns, the first constellations forming stories of their own. And within that stillness, Ra dreamed of others, voices not yet formed, eyes not yet opened. He saw Isis, not yet born, but destined. He saw Osiris, Horus, and the rivers of time flowing endlessly. His dream was the womb of creation. When the morning came again, Ra arose renewed. He stretched his arms across the horizon, painting the sky with the first colors of dawn. Every sunrise since carries that same divine gesture, a whisper of light saying, "I am still here." The people of the Nile would one day tell their children, "When Ra rises, the heart of the world awakens." But for now, there were no people, only Ra, the desert, and the dream of what would come. He gazed upon the horizon and spoke gently to himself. "The world is young, yet I feel time moving already." Ra's eyes flickered, two burning orbs of life. He could see the future stretching before him, joy and sorrow, creation and decay. Even the sun would one day rest beneath the sand. He felt no fear, only understanding. He whispered softly, "The light is eternal, even when hidden, for even gods may rest beneath the veil of night." And as the day began again, he smiled, for the world was turning, and that turning was peace. "Sleep, my creation," he murmured. "Sleep beneath my gaze, for I am the warmth that dreams of you." And so the first day ended. The first sunset fell upon the golden dunes. The Nile sighed softly as if exhaling a prayer, and the stars whispered in their silent tongue, "He is Ra, and the world dreams in his light." Part 2. The Hidden Name and the Serpent of Secrets. The sun was falling, and the great god Ra, the Sun Father, began his journey down the western horizon. His golden bark glided across the river of the sky toward the dusky gate where the night waited. Every evening, as he sailed into darkness, Ra transformed, no longer a blazing god of day, but a spirit of light, defending the underworld from the endless coils of Apophis, the serpent of chaos. But this night, something stirred, deeper than usual. Something old, something curious. The growing weakness of Ra. Ra had ruled the world since it began. He spoke the secret words that birthed the stars, the Nile, and the green life upon its banks. Yet as the world aged, Ra felt a trembling within his bones, an ache that even the power of the sun could not erase. His priests whispered, "The great Ra grows weary. His light flickers at dawn." And indeed, as the days passed, his strength waned. His once thunderous voice grew faint. The other gods, Thoth the wise, Sekhmet the fierce, and Bastet the gentle, gathered in the golden halls of Heliopolis to speak in hushed tones. Thoth, the ibis-headed scribe of wisdom, said softly, "Ra's power lies in his true name, the one spoken only by himself. If that name were ever known, another could wield his might." The gods bowed their heads, for the true name of Ra was said to be older than creation itself, a sound that shaped the first dawn. But among them, hidden by the pillars of light, Isis listened. The goddess of magic, of motherhood and cunning, the one who had healed countless wounds with her words, watched Ra fade with both sorrow and fascination. For Isis desired knowledge, not for evil, but for mastery. She wished to understand the divine order, to heal, to protect, to shape the world herself. Yet one secret always lay beyond her reach: Ra's true name. Spark of a dangerous thought. That night, as the stars shimmered over the Nile, Isis sat alone by the reeds, her reflection glowing beneath the moon. She whispered to the waters, "If the name of Ra grants the power of creation, then with it I could end pain. I could protect forever. But how can I take from the one who gave all?" The river did not answer, but the wind did. A faint voice carried through the lotus fields murmured, "Even the sun might hide from its shadow." And in that riddle, Isis found her path. Birth of the serpent. Isis began to gather the dust from the paths where Ra had walked, dust infused with his divine saliva, for even his breath contained the essence of his being. She mixed it with sacred clay and the venom of the deadliest desert serpent. Her hands moved with ritual precision, her eyes reflecting the moon's silver glow. She whispered words of creation, soft and ancient. "From sand and spirit I call thee forth. From the breath of Ra and the blood of earth awaken." The clay shuddered, coiled, and a living serpent rose. Golden scaled, with eyes like burning suns, it slithered across the stones and vanished into the underbrush. "Do not kill," Isis commanded softly. "Bite, and let truth be born." The bite of fate. As morning broke, Ra, weary but proud, took his daily walk along the sacred path. His sandals brushed the sand that Isis had enchanted. The serpent, waiting beneath the lotus, struck. The god cried out, light bursting from his veins. The heavens trembled, the Nile churned. For never before had Ra been wounded, never had pain touched his immortal skin. He staggered, his divine aura flickering like a dying flame. "What creature dares poison the father of the sun?" he thundered.
The other gods rushed to him, terrified. They called on every healer, every charm, every whisper of magic. Yet none could soothe him, for the venom was made from his own essence. His light battled itself, creation turning upon its creator. Ra fell to his knees, trembling, sweat gleaming like gold on his brow. "My heart burns, my bones are fire, my spirit is undone," he gasped. The gods wept, but Isis stepped forward, serene and radiant in her linen clothes. "Father of the gods," she said gently, "let me heal you. Tell me your true name, and I shall weave a spell strong enough to banish even death." Ra groaned, his pride and fear at war within him. "I am the maker of heaven and earth, the one who opens the Nile, who commands the seasons." Isis shook her head softly. "You speak of titles, not truth. Tell me the name that was yours before the first dawn." Ra writhed, his light dimming. Thunder rolled above the desert. "I am Capri in the morning, Ra at noon, Atum at dusk." "But the true name," whispered Isis, her voice a blade of moonlight. The serpent's venom surged, Ra's lips trembled. He looked into Isis's eyes, eyes filled not with greed, but with purpose. And finally he surrendered. He whispered a word, ancient, formless, beyond mortal sound, and the air itself shivered. The secret name passed into Isis's heart, where she bound it in silence and sacredness. At once Ra's pain ceased. His light returned, brighter, purer. The serpent melted into dust, its purpose complete. The birth of true magic. Ra rose, steady but changed. He looked upon Isis with awe and respect. "You have done what none before dared. You hold the breath of my soul," he said. "Use it not for conquest, but for healing." Isis bowed deeply. "I shall guard it as life itself. Through me, magic shall live among gods and mortals alike to mend what the sun cannot." Ra's bark shone again, sailing toward the horizon. But something new glowed in the world that night, a soft, invisible power born not from flame, but from understanding. The gods called it Heka, the sacred magic that shapes reality. And as the stars bloomed over Egypt, Isis whispered her vow to the night. "Names have power, but compassion gives them purpose."
Still, the world grew. The last rays of the sun dipped below the horizon, and once again Ra began his nightly journey, a voyage not across the sky, but through the Duat, the underworld. He stepped into his solar bark, the great golden ship of the gods, its hull carved with divine symbols that glowed faintly in the dark. The air shimmered with heat and memory. Around him gathered his divine retinue, Siya, the god of perception, Heka, the embodiment of magic, and the loyal souls who guarded his light from chaos. But tonight, the voyage felt different. A strange stillness lingered in the air, not of peace, but of deep expectation. For Isis's spell had changed something fundamental. The balance between knowledge and divinity had shifted, and in the depths of the underworld something ancient stirred. The gates of the west opened with a sound like sighing sand. Ra's bark glided into the first hour of night, where the souls of the recently departed waited to be judged. All bowed their spectral heads as his light swept across them, a gentle warmth reminding them that the sun would rise again. "Rest easy, children of the Nile," Ra murmured, his voice deep and echoing through eternity. But the bark drifted deeper. The waters grew darker. The stars above faded, replaced by swirling mists and shadows that whispered in forgotten tongues. The gods tightened their grip on their spears. Even the mighty Set, guardian of the bark, watched the darkness warily. Because here, in the second hour of night, Apophis, the serpent of chaos, waited. In the endless caverns beneath creation, something vast shifted. A coil, miles long, scraped across the black waters. Eyes like twin moons opened, gleaming with hatred. "Ra," hissed Apophis, "your light blinds, your order binds, your truth suffocates the wild heart of the void." The serpent had waited for this moment, for the day Ra grew weak, for the day the balance of the cosmos trembled. And though Isis had healed him, Apophis could feel the change. He could smell the human touch of magic upon divine power, something unpredictable, something mortal. The great serpent slithered towards the river of night, his hiss echoing through the tombs of kings and the hearts of sleeping mortals. Ra's bark entered the 12th gate, the deepest hour of night. Here stars floated like embers in ink. The air trembled with a silence so profound it made even gods uneasy. Ra stood tall, his form radiant against the darkness, his golden crown blazing faintly. But within him a whisper stirred, the faint echo of his hidden name. He remembered the serpent's venom. He remembered Isis's eyes. He remembered surrender. And he realized that even gods are bound by the same truth, that to rise again, one must first fall. Suddenly, the waters split apart, and Apophis rose from the abyss. His body shimmered like oil, vast enough to eclipse the stars. "You carry the stolen name," hissed the serpent, eyes fixed on Ra. "You are no longer whole. You are divided, and I shall devour both halves." The bark shook violently. The gods raised their weapons, chanting the words of protection. But Ra raised a hand. "No, let the serpent speak." The serpent reared, his fangs dripping starlight. "You gave order to the world. You made day and night, birth and death. But in doing so, you chained creation itself.
I am the scream before the first dawn, and I will unmake your prison of light. Ra's gaze softened, not in fear, but in sorrow. Without chaos, there is no balance. Without shadow, there is no dawn. But Apophis lunged, and the universe trembled. Above the world, in the realm of the living, Isis awoke. The night air shimmered around her. She could feel the battle unfolding far below, the pull of Ra's light and Apophis's shadow. Closing her eyes, she drew upon the secret name within her heart, but she did not speak it. Not this time. Instead, she sang, a song older than speech, softer than wind, a melody that carried through the void, weaving through the underworld like a silken thread of moonlight. Light and shadow, mother and son, from silence to voice, from many to one. Rise, O dawn, from the serpent's sleep. The sun is the secret the soul must keep. The words reached Ra as the serpent's jaws closed around his light. And in that instant, Ra understood. He no longer fought to conquer chaos. He fought to embrace it. Ra spread his arms, and his golden form burst into flame. Not the searing light of day, but a deep, living radiance that filled every corner of the duat. Apophis roared, the sound of every nightmare ever dreamed, but Ra's light did not burn him. It enfolded him. You are not my enemy, Ra whispered. You are the breath between my heartbeats. You are the shadow that defines my flame. The serpent froze. The chaos inside him rippled, confused. For the first time, he felt not opposition, but understanding. Ra's light entered him, not to destroy, but to transform. And slowly the serpent dissolved, his darkness turning to shimmering stardust that scattered across the underworld. Those sparks rose upward, breaking through the night sky, and became the Milky Way, the path of souls between the worlds. The bark emerged from the darkness, rising toward the eastern gate of the sky. The first light of dawn kissed the horizon, and the mortals of Egypt stirred from sleep. Children yawned, farmers stretched, the river gleamed like gold. And in that moment between night and day, the gods smiled. Ra looked upward, his heart calm. He knew his true name was no longer his alone. It was shared, woven through every heart that watched the sunrise, every life that greeted the light. He whispered softly to Isis across the distance of the worlds, "You have taught even the sun to listen." And Isis, standing beside the Nile, whispered back, "And you have taught even the moon to rise." The dawn broke fully, the bark blazing across the heavens, not as a tyrant of light, but as a guardian of harmony. The serpent slept beneath the stars, his chaos transformed into beauty, and the world continued its endless breath. Inhale and exhale, day and night,
The sun rose over the Nile once more, calm, radiant, eternal. But something was different. The people who woke beneath that golden light felt a change. Their dreams had been strange the night before, filled with glowing rivers, whispering stars, and the soft voice of a goddess singing through the dark. It was as though in their sleep they had journeyed beside the gods themselves. And so, across Egypt, a new reverence began, not just for the blazing power of Ra, but for the gentle rhythm of his return, the death and rebirth that mirrored the mystery of human sleep. The first dream of dawn. In a small village near Heliopolis, a shepherd named Nefer awoke before sunrise. He had dreamed of sailing through vast, starry waters, beside a glowing bark and a voice that whispered his name with kindness. He rose, trembling, and whispered to his wife, "I saw the sun travel through the darkness, and it spoke not of fear, but of peace." Word spread quickly. The priests of Ra took notice. When the villagers gathered at the temple, the high priest, robed in white and gold, addressed them solemnly. "The gods have opened the gates of the night to us. When we sleep, our souls follow Ra on his journey. In our dreams, we touch the divine." And so, each evening, as the horizon dimmed, people closed their eyes not in dread of the dark, but in faith that Ra would guide them through it, and Isis would guard their dreams. Thus began the sacred belief of the secret dawn. The Temple of Dreams, or Per Nefru, stood near the bend of the Nile where the waters mirrored both moon and dawn alike. Pilgrims came from across Egypt seeking visions in their sleep. They lay upon mats of papyrus, breathing incense of myrrh and lotus. Priestesses of Isis moved among them, chanting softly, "Sleep, child of light. The sun sails below. Dream gently and follow the glow." They believed the dreams were not illusions, but journeys, real voyages through the duat, guided by Ra's radiant bark. In those dreams, mortals saw loved ones lost to time. They spoke with gods, heard secrets, and awoke with tears of understanding. To sleep became a holy act. To dream became a form of prayer. The whisper of Isis. In the temple's innermost chamber, a single flame always burned. It was said to be lit by Isis herself. Her presence was felt in the hush before dreams began, that soft maternal stillness that wraps around the heart. One priestess, young and wise beyond her years, was named Merit. She tended the flame with devotion, whispering to the shadows, "Mother of magic, teach me the path of gentle knowing." One night, as she knelt, the flame flickered, and a voice, warm and distant, filled her thoughts. "You need not seek the name of Ra to know his light. You need only open your heart to the rhythm of his silence." Merit gasped, eyes wide. The goddess's whisper faded, but in its wake came peace. That night she dreamed of the serpent Apophis, not as a beast of terror, but as a sleeping river beneath the stars, shimmering with starlight.
and when she awoke, she wrote the first prayer of balance. Bless the darkness that hides the dawn. Bless the serpent that guards the gate. For even chaos in the right light becomes creation. That prayer spread through Egypt, carried by merchants, sung by farmers, whispered by children before sleep. It changed how people saw the world. The Scrolls of Light. The scribes of Thoth recorded these teachings upon papyrus scrolls, the scrolls of light. Each line a hymn to balance, to unity. They taught that every dream is a reflection of the sun's journey. The setting of the sun, the closing of the eyes. The descent through the duat, the wandering of dreams. The battle of Apophis, the turmoil within the soul. The rising dawn, the awakening to life renewed. These scrolls became the heart of temple study. Even pharaohs sought guidance from them before sleep, believing their dreams could foretell the future or heal the soul. It was said that those who learned to dream with awareness could glimpse the very bark of Ra and hear Isis's lullaby carried on the night wind. The dream of the pharaoh. One such night, Pharaoh Amenhotep the Just lay restless in his golden chamber. Though his empire thrived, his heart was heavy. The gods felt distant, and the people spoke of omens, shadows moving across the moon. He closed his eyes and whispered, "O Ra, if you still shine for us, show me your light in the darkness." Sleep claimed him. And in the dream, he found himself upon the deck of a great ship, drifting through star-filled waters. Ra stood before him, radiant but calm. "You fear the silence," said the sun god, "yet the silence is my breath." Then Isis appeared beside him, her eyes reflecting both sun and moon. "You lead the living by day, Pharaoh. Let your heart rest by night. Trust the rhythm. Trust the balance." When the Pharaoh awoke, tears streaked his face. He ordered that from that day forward, every home should have a small clay lamp to be lit at sunset, symbolizing the eternal light that even darkness cannot extinguish. The decree was called the Light of the Hidden Name, and Egypt shone like a constellation of living stars each night. The eternal cycle. Generations passed, the temples weathered time, the Nile continued its endless flow. But the teachings of Ra and Isis endured, in songs, in dreams, in the hush that comes before dawn. Mothers still sang to their children, "Ra sails beneath your sleep, little one, and Isis guards your name." The idea of sleep as sacred voyage spread beyond Egypt, through Greece, through Rome, into the hearts of travelers who carried with them the memory of a gentle God who sails through shadow and returns with the sun. Even now, though the temples are dust, their whispers remain. Every night you close your eyes, you are reliving that ancient story. You descend into your own duat, a landscape of dreams, memory, and imagination. You meet your own Apophis, the chaos that must be understood, not destroyed. and when you awaken, it is your secret dawn. The sleep of the gods. In the highest heaven, Ra rests in his radiant bark. The serpent lies coiled peacefully beneath him, transformed into the Milky Way. Isis watches from her silver throne beside the moon. She hums softly. Not a spell this time, but a lullaby. Rest, great light. Dream your world again. For in each mortal heart, your name still glows. And so, as you drift now toward your own dreams, know that the gods travel beside you.
When night came to Egypt, it was not seen as a time of ending, but of travel. The people knew that as they lay down to rest, Ra began his voyage through the Duat, and their souls would follow the trail of his golden bark. To sleep was to journey with the sun. To dream was to listen to the whispers of the gods. And in this shared understanding, Egypt became a land not only of light and life, but of dreamers, men and women who sought wisdom, healing, and prophecy through the gentle veil of slumber. The village beneath the moon. On the quiet edge of the Nile Delta stood a small fishing village called Persoptu, named after a forgotten sky god. By day, its people worked under the relentless heat of the sun, mending nets, weaving baskets, shaping clay. But at night, the village transformed. Lanterns flickered along the riverbank. Elders gathered beneath palm trees to tell stories of Ra's nightly voyage and Isis's song that soothed the restless spirits. Children would curl beside their parents and ask, "Will Ra visit my dreams tonight?" Their mothers smiled, brushing their hair aside, and whispered, "If your heart is light, child, you may see his sails." The night became sacred, a time when even the humblest life brushed against eternity. The priest of sleep. In that same village lived an old priest named Menka, keeper of the temple of the silent hour. Every sunset, Menka would walk to the river bank with a small bronze bowl. He filled it with Nile water, whispered a prayer, and watched the ripples fade. "When the water stills," he said, "so does the mind, and when the mind stills, the gods can speak." Menka's temple was modest, no gold, no marble, just sandstone and the scent of lotus oil. But pilgrims came from far and wide to rest there. They came not for riches or power, but for dreams. At dusk, Menka would lead them into the sleeping chamber, a hall lined with carvings of stars. The floor was cool, the air thick with incense. He would murmur, "Lie down, children of Ra. The world closes its eyes. In your dreams you will remember the truth of your light." Then he would pour water over a small stone, said to be a fragment from the bark itself, and let the sound echo like a heartbeat through the room. That rhythm became the bridge between worlds. And as the pilgrims drifted to sleep, their souls began to dream. The dream of the weaver.
Among the dreamers was a woman named Nefru, a weaver whose hands were worn from years of labor. Her husband had died in the flood the year before, and her heart was heavy with grief. She came to the temple seeking peace. That night, she dreamed she stood on the deck of a shining boat, its sails made of starlight. The river beneath was black but calm, and at the helm stood a figure of radiant fire, Ra himself. "Why do you fear the night, child?" he asked. She bowed her head. "Because I am alone." Ra smiled, a soft, fatherly light. "No one who dreams is ever alone. The stars themselves are your kin." When she awoke, tears ran down her cheeks. She returned home and wove a tapestry unlike any before, a golden sun sailing across a river of blue silk. When the villagers saw it, they said it seemed to glow. It hung in the temple thereafter, a gift to the god of the dawn. And from that day, Nefru's weaving was known across the land. People whispered that her patterns held the rhythm of Ra's voyage, threads of night and light intertwined. The Keeper of Signs. Farther south, in Thebes, there lived a young man named Karef, apprentice to the scribes of the Temple of Thoth. His duty was to record dreams brought by pilgrims, a practice known as interpretation through divine measure. He learned that no dream was meaningless. A lotus blooming in darkness meant rebirth. A falcon soaring toward the sun meant divine favor. A serpent resting beside water meant inner transformation, no longer an omen of fear, but of balance. Each morning, Karef would unroll new papyrus and write. Another came with visions of the bark of Ra. Another saw Isis smiling beside the moon. Another saw the serpent coiled in peace. Over time, these records became known as the Book of the Night Visions, filled with hundreds of stories of ordinary people who touched the divine while asleep. It was whispered that Karef himself began to dream as he wrote, dreams that mirrored those he recorded, as though he was also being taught by the gods. One night he dreamed of a vast scroll unfurling across the stars, written not in ink, but in light. He asked the voice of Thoth, "What is this writing?" And the god replied, "The dream of creation itself." Karef never woke from that dream. They say his body remained still, peaceful, for 7 days, while his spirit wrote among the stars. The Gardens of Rest. The teachings of Ra and Isis spread so deeply that even cities began to change. Gardens were built around homes for nighttime meditation. Pools reflected the moonlight so that every Egyptian could see both the heavens above and their own reflection below, a reminder of the harmony between mortal and divine. Perfumes were crafted to aid sacred sleep. Lavender from the oasis, blue lotus from the river's edge. And each dawn, as the people awoke, they gathered on rooftops to greet the sun with quiet joy, not in fear of the dark behind them, but in gratitude for the journey they had taken through it. Dreams became messages, art, healing. The act of resting became a form of worship. The Whispering Tomb. Yet even in the still beauty of that age, one place remained shrouded in mystery, a tomb near Abydos carved with inscriptions that glowed faintly in moonlight. It was said to belong to an ancient seer who had once dreamed too deeply. When travelers entered the tomb, they claimed to hear whispers echoing through the stone. The dream continues. The dawn is within you. Some believed it was the voice of the seer himself, still dreaming beneath the earth, guiding lost souls towards understanding. Others said it was Ra, speaking through the veil, reminding humankind that no dream truly ends, it only transforms. The villagers called it the tomb of the eternal sleeper. Even priests came to meditate there, lying down upon the cool stone and listening for the faint hum that rose from below, like the heartbeat of the world itself. And so the centuries turned, but Egypt's soul did not fade. The temples may crumble, the papyrus may decay, but the rhythm remains. Every sunset, Ra descends once more. Every sunrise, he returns. Every night, you, the dreamer, follow the same path. You sail through your own dark.
The final glow of the sun hung low over the horizon, a molten disk melting into the Nile's patient waters. Its reflection shimmered in gold and crimson threads, weaving a bridge between the sky and earth, between Ra, the eternal, and the world that bore his name. The gods gathered upon the horizon of dusk, their forms luminous, carved from starlight and prayer. Isis stood among them, her eyes deep pools of midnight, knowing, waiting, shimmering with secrets untold. She had done what no one dared, challenged the invincible. And now, as Ra's light began to falter, the time had come for truth and revelation. Isle, the dimming of the sun. Ra's voice, once the song that moved the heavens, now trembled like an old flame. "My strength," he whispered, his breath like the wind over dry reeds. "The venom burns not in my veins, but in my soul. Speak, Isis, why have you done this?" Isis stepped closer, her presence gentle yet powerful. "Because truth is the seed of renewal, great Ra. Without change, the world grows stagnant. You are the sun, but even the sun must set, so that morning may be born again." Ra's eyes flared, twin suns fighting the dusk. "You seek what mortals cannot bear, my true name, that which binds the stars, that which even chaos itself obeys." The wind hushed, the river paused, the cosmos itself seemed to lean closer. Isle, the bargain of gods. "I seek not your fall," she said softly. "I seek your continuity. You burn unending, yet your light fades within you. Give me your hidden name, and I will draw out the venom. You will rise anew, and Egypt will live through you forever." Ra's heart older than memory, wavered. He had ruled since the first dawn, when the world was but shadow and potential. But even gods grew weary, even light longed to rest. He nodded, ancient and slow. Then come closer, Lady of Magic, for only you shall hear what no ear may remember. Isis approached, kneeling before him, not as an enemy, but as a daughter kneels before a father who has outlived his sorrow. Ra leaned forward, his lips near her ear, and spoke in a voice that was not sound, but vibration, the pulse beneath creation. And in that instant, Isis knew. She heard his true name, the secret syllables of the cosmos, the essence that commanded existence itself, the name that could unmake or remake the world. And as the final tone vibrated through her being, the venom fled from Ra's body, returning to the sands from which it came. Nile, the moment of rebirth. Ra gasped, his lungs filling again with the breath of eternity. The sun above blazed brighter, renewed, not the angry fire of dominance, but the warm, patient light of rebirth. He rose, his shadow stretching long across the golden dunes. "You have taken part of my power," he said, his tone not bitter but awestruck. "And yet I feel lighter. You carry now what I could not." Isis bowed her head. "I will keep it safe. Your name is bound within me, not as a weapon, but as wisdom." The gods murmured among themselves, some fearful, some reverent, for the balance had shifted. The age of Ra's absolute rule had ended, and the age of divine wisdom had begun. Nile, the night of the first moon. That night, as the first moon rose over Egypt's cradle, Ra rested in his solar bark upon the horizon of dreams. He gazed down upon the mortal lands, the temples, the rivers, the fires where people prayed. Their songs drifted upward, a melody woven from devotion and awe. And Isis, alone beneath the stars, whispered the name he had given her, not aloud, but within her heart, for she knew its utterance would shift the world's axis. Instead, she let it glow within her soul, a hidden ember of divine truth. From that night forth, she became not only the goddess of magic, but the keeper of balance. And Ra, renewed, rose again each morning, his fire tempered by humility, his strength guided by wisdom. Nile, the hidden meaning. They say the hidden name still lives within the world, not in words, but in the spaces between them, in the stillness before dawn, in the pause between two heartbeats, in the gentle hum of the Nile as it curves like an ancient serpent through the sands. It is there, waiting, not to be spoken, but to be understood. And when mortals close their eyes beneath the sun's warmth, they feel it, a whisper, a pulse, a memory of light. That is Ra's gift and Isis's mercy. That is the balance between power and love, the eternal rhythm of existence.
Nile, the eternal cycle. The story does not end with Ra's surrender, nor with Isis's triumph, for each dawn is a retelling. Each sunrise, the rebirth of light from shadow. Each sunset, the humility of gods who know even eternity must breathe. The sands of Egypt shift and reshape, yet the truth remains. Power without wisdom burns itself away. Wisdom without light fades into silence. Together they sustain the cosmos, just as Ra and Isis sustain the world within your dreams. So now, as your eyes grow heavy, imagine the golden horizon stretching endless before you, the gentle hum of the river, the murmur of the gods watching kindly from afar, the name of creation pulsing softly through your heartbeat. And as the world fades into slumber, remember, even the sun must rest, so that it may rise again.